So there's this idea that if we want change, we need to program the environment and ultimately everything else will fall into place. Now we hear this a lot in personal development, professional development and so on. It's like, oh, if you want to change your environment. So if you want to lose weight, get rid of all the junk food in the house, stop making unhealthy food convenient and so on, get rid of all that, replace all the junk food with healthy foods and so on, so that you obviously change that environment and then don't have yourself around or associated with bad foods or bad things that are going to knock you off track and so on. So it kind of makes sense. Okay, cool. Well, if I change my environment, I'll therefore be able to produce a new outcome. But the problem is with focusing on environment alone is that we're not necessarily attacking the two most important aspects, which in many cases are going to supersede that change you've made in your environment. Now, that's not to say environment isn't important. It is. And for some, it might even be the thing that makes the big difference. It's like, oh shit, I got rid of all that junk food, or I removed whatever the obstacle was from my environment, and therefore it made it easy for me to continue to show up and take action daily and therefore get the results that I want in life. I now have reached the success I'm going for. But we have to remember that change actually takes place on three levels, not just the level of environment. It also takes place at the level of others and the level of self. So what we mean is, okay, well, you now maybe want to lose weight, or maybe you want to earn more money and be more successful financially. Cool. But if you are from a poor background, what you can do, like we've said, is change your environment. So you put yourself in a new place that's more affluent, perhaps. You're surrounded by homes, by property, by possessions that are of greater value, and therefore that's helped you to change your environment. So you see more of the things that you want. So therefore it's like, oh, well, if I'm seeing more of this, maybe it's more available. Now the catch is, if we might change that environment, but if we still maintain the same circle of friends, now this isn't me saying you have to get rid of your friends, but if I still spend the large majority of time around my friends, the others in my life, and they're all still broke, they all still have the poverty mindset, and they don't see wealth as a good thing, and rich people are evil, and all the rest of it, money doesn't grow on trees, and all this kind of shit. If they have those types of mindsets, the others in your life will often override any environment you put yourself in. Because unfortunately, we have this thing where we love tribal association. We want to belong. We want to feel part of the group. So if we now put ourselves around the same people, even though our environment has changed, often we will end up with the same outcome because we don't want to disconnect or remove ourselves or disassociate from that group because they give us a sense of belonging. Now, of course, if we can change the others as well, so not just the environment, but we change the people that we associate with also, that's now two strings to our bow. So this now increases our likelihood of success because not only did we change our environment, we also changed the people that we're associating with. And as they say, we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So we don't necessarily have to remove those other people from our life, but we might have to start associating and spending more time with other people who are in alignment with the outcome that we want. So that's one thing. Now, of course, the real level, the real truth about whether you actually make change and about whether it's lasting will come down to whether you can change self. Now, the catch is we are where we are in life because of our current identity. So the person we see is the person we will be. And the reason for that is the person I believe myself to be does certain things in a certain way and therefore gets certain outcomes. And unless I can see myself and believe myself to be doing other things and showing up in different ways and having new things in my life, I won't be able to have them, regardless of who is around me and regardless of my environment. Yes, the environment and the others makes it more likely and may make that transition of self easier, but it doesn't guarantee my success because if I will not change who I am, who I'm showing up as and what I believe to be true about me, then unfortunately, none of my goals, dreams, aspirations, inspirations, and so on can come true because I'm still stuck in the scarcity of who I believe I currently am now. So I have to be willing to not only change my environment, which is a big thing, but I also have to potentially change others, and I most certainly have to change self. At some level, I have to be willing to completely transform my identity. So if I'm currently fat, overweight, tired, lethargic, what I have to do is go, okay, well, that's who I've been being, that's who I've been showing up as. Those are the actions I have been taking. But what I now need to do, because I want a new outcome and a new reality, is start showing up different. I have to start believing that I can be something different. And once I believe that I can be, that will allow me the space I need to consistently act in that way. Until I believe it to be true for me, or at least possible for me, I will not consistently show up. I might do the things here and there, and I'll dip in and dip out and have thoughts and ideas about how great it might be to live a particular way to get my amazing outcome. But unless I actually believe that it's going to be possible, I will not show up and do it consistently. I won't do it daily like I need to make it a new reality for me. One that actually lasts, that I can hold on to. And then instead it becomes a burden. It's a chore. Oh, here we go again. I'll try again, even though I know I'm going to fail. So we need to be mindful of that and careful and say, okay, yes, well, I do need to change my environment. But at the same time, I maybe need to be aware that perhaps the people I associate with may also need to change, or at least adapt. And then I may most certainly, not may, you will most certainly have to change at the level of self. This one is key. If you can change at self, others and environment means much less. It's much less of a requirement. It's not to say it isn't a good thing, because of course if we don't change those other aspects, there's going to be things in our life that are anchoring us and trying to pull us back to where we were. But if you can change at the level of self and rise above the vibration of anything that may be lacking or holding you back, then it's actually quite easy in the grand scheme of things to maintain that status that you're at, because you now perceive yourself as different. You identify totally differently, and in a totally different way. You see the new potential that you've moved into as being real. It's part of you now. And again, it's just something you do. It's not something you have to try anymore. It's not something you have to make yourself do. It's beyond a habit. It's literally become part of your identity. So just bear that in mind. If you hear people, or if you think to yourself, oh, well, I'll just change a few things in my environment, just bear in mind it may not be enough, and you may have to also look at others and self. And that way you're more likely, in fact, in reality, guaranteed to get the result that you want, as long as you're willing to follow through and actually change all three aspects of change in order to get the outcome that you want. So thanks for watching, people. As always, if you have any comments or questions, if you want me to dig deeper into this, drop your comments in the box below. And if not, I look forward to seeing you all on my next video. Take it easy, people.